It first started life as Puzzle Bobble, an arcade puzzle spin-off of the much-beloved Bubble Bobble series, and then localization came along and dubbed the game Bust-A-Move, because apparently titles with 3 syllables are more marketable locally than 4. Regardless, there have been many countless entries in this series since its initial 1994 inception, and so why not start at the beginning with Bust-A-Move for the Super Nintendo released in 1995. Close enough. The premise of Puzzle Bubble Bust-A-Move is simple. There are colored bubbles in the sky and you shoot more bubbles at the batch of bubbles, so you match up 3 or more bubbles of the same color, which will cause the bubbles to burst and clear from the screen. You could shoot your bubbles straight up or bounce them off the walls for trick shots to get them bubbles in snug spots. If you manage to snap off a stem of bubbles, it will drop all the bubbles it was holding to the abyss below. Every little bit the ceiling drops, pushing the bubbles closer to the line, which ends the game when one crosses over. Once you clear all the bubbles, you move on to the next stage where you begin the process all over again with a new set of bubbles and more bubbles to shoot, and bubble, 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 bubble. Close enough. When you start the game, you have a line of sight gimmick that will help you with your aiming. This lasts 1 stage and then you're on your own, using the D-pad to aim your cannon thing, while using the B button to fire. You can also use the trigger buttons to inch your cannon left or right for more precise aiming, which I appreciate because you need to make some tight shots to get them bubbles in the right place. If these controls don't suit you, you could always customize them in the options. You have 100 rounds of play in Bust-A-Move, but there's also a versus mode against the second player, or against the computer, of which you have multiple opponents to deal with, as well as an endless challenge mode where you pop bubbles until you lose, which happens when a bubble crosses the line. There are even passwords to return to later levels. Nice, short, and simple passwords. So Bust-A-Bobble is pretty simple fare. It's shooting bubbles at other bubbles and making them bubbles pop. It's a sort of easy to understand fare that you build a series of sequels on, and there's a reason for that, because the game is genuinely fun and doesn't require much thought to learn how to play the game, so you could save the heavy thinking for problem solving the layouts before you, of which there are plenty to contend with. There's a couple power-ups that'll help out, explosive bubbles, lightning bubbles, and paint bubbles, but it's down to fun with angles and trajectories, and if this proves a bit too much, turn it down a notch in difficulty in the options, nobody will know or care. So Bubble Bobble is a cute looking little game with cute looking little critters, and Puzzle-A-Move doesn't quite continue the cuteness of that game and its follow-ups, but it does offer some nice, clear, and colorful graphics that suits the overall game just fine. Actually, that's a lie. Bub and Bob using the bubble shooting contraption is a bit cute. Bubbles are nice looking, the background changes every few levels, none of them distracting to the main play area, which has a darkened background to block the light outside. There's no flicker, no slowdown, the few mugshots used in the game have some cuteness to it, but that's about it. On the flip side, you have a cutesy soundtrack with a few cutesy songs, and they are cutesy sounding. Do they wear out their welcome? Perhaps, but I've played a game with worth sounding music, and this is perfectly acceptable fare. Sound effects are alright, there's some short voice bites here and there, solid stuff, no complaints. Puzzle Bust-A-Bobble Move is simple, fun, thought-provoking fare. It will help in your aiming of bubbles in tight corners. It will make you appreciate the joys of popping bubbles and releasing the wildlife trapped within. It will make the protractor a trusted tool in your arsenal against... Wait, what was I talking about again? There are many Puzzle Bobble games out there. Some look prettier, some have more stuff, and some might be newer and fresher. But this first Bust-A-Move game holds up where it counts. As another puzzler on the Super Nintendo, it's high up there in the top tier of quality. Hell, honestly, play any of them. They're all fun. Except for this one with the baby, that's just terrifying and just wrong. Acclaim, huh? No wonder why they went out of business.